Today's case takes place in Colorado City, Texas. Colorado City began as a ranger camp and soon became a cattlemen's center, being dubbed the Mother City of West Texas. It was a cattle shipment center in the early 1880s, with herds driven to Colorado City and loaded onto trains for shipment to eastern markets. In December 2010, a popular middle school cheerleader, Hailey Dunn, went missing without a trace, sparking a desperate search in Colorado City, Texas. Hailey Dunn's disappearance had been shrouded in mystery for a decade. Hailey Dunn was born on August 28, 1997, to Billie Jean and Clinton Dunn. Hailey loved school and got along with everyone. Her father described her as lovable, bubbly, caring, and a tomboy who liked pretty things. Hailey enjoyed sports and was involved in volleyball, softball, and basketball. She could also play the saxophone. Her friends said she was always playing around and was never afraid to speak her mind. Her parents separated when she was 10, and Hailey and her brother, David, went to live with their mother and her boyfriend, Shawn Adkins, on Chestnut Street in the heart of Colorado. Hailey and her dad, Clint, had a very tight bond, and they were especially close. And since Clint lived only a short walk away from where Hailey lived, she would visit his house every day. She never missed a chance to spend time with him. On December 26, 2010, David, 16, went to a friend's house for a sleepover, while Hailey stayed home and played video games until midnight. The next day, Shawn left for work at 5:30 a.m., and Billy followed an hour later after checking on Hailey, who was sleeping in her bed. Everything appeared to be as expected. Billy knew that Hailey would be home alone all day and assumed she would go to her dad's house as she usually would. Billy also left her cell phone at home in case Hailey needed it. Shawn arrived at his job in Snyder at 6 a.m. He said he quit a few minutes later after arguing with his boss. He then went to his mother's house in Big Spring before driving 35 minutes to get back to Colorado City. Hailey's father, Clinton, was used to seeing his daughter every day, but on December 27, 2010, there was no knock at his door. Hailey didn't show up. When Billy returned home that evening, Hailey wasn't there. She asked Shawn if he knew where she was, and Shawn told her he was fired from his job over an argument with his boss. And that was when he returned home at 3 p.m. Hailey told him that she would go to her father's house, then her friend Mary Beth's home for a sleepover. Shawn told Billy that Hailey said she would be back the next day, and Billy, taking his word for it, called it a day. However, by 2 p.m. the next day, Hailey still hadn't returned home. Billy called Mary Beth's parents, who had no knowledge of any slumber party. Mary Beth told Billy she never had plans to meet with Hailey and also hadn't seen her. Panicked, Billy called Clinton, who, again, told Billy he had no plans with her and hadn't seen her all day. Upon a closer inspection of her room, Billy noticed that nothing was missing from her room, including her toothbrush and pajamas, something everyone would have expected her to take to a sleepover. Billy and Clinton started going door to door to ask neighbors if they had seen their daughter, but no one had. Eventually, Billy called 911 and reported her daughter missing. Billy said she was scared that someone might have abducted her daughter as she was walking to the store to her father's house. She even thought that maybe Hailey had been in a bad mood and walked off because of it. The community support started coming in to find Hailey. The media covered her story too. Hailey's scent was followed by bloodhounds all the way to a nearby motel. However, the staff had no recollection of seeing Hailey, and she was not visible on any surveillance footage. A search of all 24 suites turned up no evidence that Hailey had ever been there. Clinton was absolutely devastated over Hailey's disappearance. He searched dumpsters, streets, alleyways, and anywhere else he could think of for his daughter. Hundreds of community volunteers spent several days searching for Hailey. Her case went national after being featured on Nancy Grace, and the FBI was called in. Hailey's missing flyer was featured on billboards across the state. However, this level of concern was not shared by Billy and Shawn. As the search for Hailey progressed, the reporters and locals recalled that Billy didn't partake in any of the searches for her daughter. Although, in her defense, she herself said that while she was happy handing out flyers and doing interviews, she didn't want to search for her daughter in wooded areas, as that would mean they were searching for a body. Even Clinton himself struggled to search these rural areas. The police started questioning registered sex offenders in the area to see if they had anything to do with her disappearance, but everyone was ruled out. Just 4 days after Hailey was reported missing, Shawn and Billy threw a New Year's Eve party, where they ate, drank, and partied well into the night. Many people were confused at the timing of this. However, Billy said she didn't realize it was New Year's Eve and that the family came over to support her. 2 days later, Shawn and Billy appeared at a vigil for Hailey, where Shawn tearfully pleaded for Hailey's safe return, stating, "Hailey, I hope you come home safe really soon. You've been away for far too long. We all miss you and love you." A few days later, on January 5th, Shawn and Billy got into a heated argument and Shawn left the house. This was not uncommon, as the couple would often clash, then make up a few days later. But this altercation gave investigators actual insight into Hailey's home life, and it became apparent that her home life was way more difficult behind closed doors for the 13-year-old and her brother than they showed on the outside. Unbeknownst to them, Billy and Shawn were already on police's radar way before Hailey disappeared. 10 months before her disappearance, police received a call regarding a domestic disturbance. The couple had called the police on each other, and when police arrived, the two were argumentative. A few days later, Shawn and Billy had patched things up, and Shawn moved in with her once again. Hailey's grandmother told the media that the 13-year-old was terrified of Shawn because he would stand in the doorway of her room at night and watch her. With this new information, detectives asked Shawn and Billy to take polygraph tests. However, both of them had to take the test a second time due to being under the influence of narcotics at the time of the first test. Both explained that they had taken Ativan, an anti-anxiety medication, the night before. Shawn walked out of the polygraph test at least twice, and on the third attempt, he only completed stage 1. However, he did give something to the investigators. When asked where Hailey was, Shawn replied, "In Scurry County," and when asked who the police should look into as suspects, he replied, "Both of us." The test revealed that those two answers were correct, but when pressed, he refused to elaborate and left the room. Early into the investigation, cell phones and records belonging to Shawn and Billy were analyzed. Shawn's previous employer was also looked at. Shawn had not been fired from his job after all. According to his boss, Shawn arrived at work at 6 a.m. on December 27th, purchased a Dr. Pepper, handed in his overalls, and quit. After this, he drove away at 6:10 a.m. Shawn admitted that he had lied about being fired in order to avoid a fight with Billy. Shawn claims that after leaving work, he went straight to his mother's house in Big Spring and applied for unemployment benefits on her computer. He claimed to have driven home at 2:40 p.m., but his cell phone data revealed otherwise. Cell phone pings placed Shawn in Colorado City between 6:35 and 6:56 a.m., and in Big Spring from 9:38 a.m. to 2:40 p.m. He made 11 calls while in Colorado City. Shawn could not have arrived home at 3 p.m. when he claimed to have last spoken with Hailey, because Big Spring is 38 miles from Colorado City. David told investigators that he came home from school at 5 p.m. on the day his sister went missing and knocked on the door, but no one answered. When David entered through an open side window, he found Shawn standing in the hallway with a deer-in-the-headlights expression. As suspicions grew, the police wanted to take a closer look at Billy and Shawn's house. Inside, investigators discovered a box containing 278 pages on sexual sadism, serial killers, and mass murderers such as George Emil Banks, Ed Kemper, and Robert Pickton. A photo of a pentagram, occult information, and a memory stick containing over 100,000 photos of child pornography and bestiality were among the items seized. Shawn's mother's computer, which he frequently used, also had child pornography on it. Following this harrowing discovery, Shawn became the prime suspect in the case, and David was removed from that house by Child Protection Services. Authorities went to Billie Jean and Shawn's house on March 27, 2011. Billie Jean said Shawn wasn't there, but when they arrived with an arrest warrant and entered the house, they discovered Shawn hiding inside. Billie Jean was arrested and detained for lying to police. She was sentenced to a year of probation and relocated to Austin with Shawn. Shawn was never arrested for any crime, and the couple eventually split up and got divorced. On March 16, 2013, a hiker found a body's remains near Lake J.B. Thomas in Scurry County. The body had one single tooth attached, and the investigators used dental records to confirm that the body was Hailey's. Although the investigators did not disclose the cause of death, they told Clinton that it was likely caused by blunt force trauma, and unfortunately, the family had to wait for 4 years to finally lay Hailey to rest in January of 2017. In 2018, Clinton came forward and said that he believed his daughter was murdered by both Billy and Shawn, and that it was not up for discussion. Clinton was in touch with the police as he begged them to make an arrest in his daughter's case, but the investigating team still didn't have enough evidence against anyone. Clinton Dunn's appeals caught the attention of an anonymous person who reportedly found several belongings of Hailey Dunn in the summer of 2011. They reached out to Clinton to tell him. Although the location and items are still kept in the dark from the public, Hailey's dad said it was found in a place that had been searched countless times by the police. Finally, almost a decade after the murder of Hailey Dunn, and 7 years after the body was found, in June 2021, Shawn, who was about 35 years old at this time, was arrested in connection with Hailey's murder. While it was reported that a DNA sample led to the arrest, authorities have remained tight-lipped about any other details in the case. He was apprehended in Big Spring and transported to the Mitchell County Detention Center in Texas. He is currently being held on a $1 million bond for the murder charge and a $250,000 bond for tampering with a corpse. Shawn has not yet entered a plea. This case is still ongoing as of October of 2022, but the Dunn family hopes that Shawn will be brought to justice for the murder of Hailey Dunn.